Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have changed to Self-Discovery Media very recently from Self-Discovery Radio TV. We're still the same station, just a different name. And today I am bringing you a wonderful topic. How do we handle our anger and our anxiety using EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique? And our wonderful expert that's coming to help us here with today, and I hope that I honor her name, is Elaine Lichtenstein. Did I say that right? I'm terrible with names.
That's why you're fine. However you say it, Sara, it's good.
That's why everybody, from Britain, where you call everybody honey and love and sweetheart and everything else, or ultimate flip and finger jog and all of that. I'm terrible with names, but I am not terrible with when it comes down to the topic that we're talking about. Mindfulness, as you say, is defined as paying attention to being fully in the moment. The influence of technology and our fast-paced world often causes the problem of a lack of focus on a particular task. Modern, often chaotic world, frustration levels rise, giving way to stress and anger. Impatience and frustration go hand in hand. A workplace culture and personal mindfulness awareness is especially helpful to maintain inner peace and personal balance. Well, we most certainly can talk today about stress, because when you're looking at the environment out there right now, it is highly stressful. And when we're looking at frustration, it leads to anger because of that. And so we're looking at a world right now that's in transition. And that transition causes so much of this anxiety that leads to all these other things. Emotional freedom technique is a wonderful technique that anybody can do anywhere at any time. And knowing how to use it and bring ourselves down before we react or before we get depressed or angry is something we all need to know as a technique, isn't it? Welcome to the show, Elaine.
Thanks so much, Sara, and for that lovely introduction.
Thank you. I'm sorry about the name. But anger and stress, you can't blame people for being like this right now. It is the environment, but how do we handle it? Because it is our job to handle it, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Each of us, in each of our lives, personal and professional, if you work, lives. And if you're a stay-at-home parent, that's work too. I know that.
Yes.
Or stay-at-home grandparent, wherever, whomever you're with. Yeah, it's absolutely necessary, even more than ever with the often chaotic circumstances outside of our personal environments or immediate work environments. It's more important than ever to recognize possible symptoms, personal symptoms of these negative feelings, and to be able to take a tool out of our toolbox.
Yes.
and lower that level that has escalated before it gets to an extreme.
Extreme, I think it is in certain cases. When you hear of shootings and you hear of, the ganging up on people and, even the extreme bullying that we're seeing, it's all coming from that place, isn't it, of the frustration and the anger and the anxiety, because we react that way when we don't understand or when we feel powerless. And so our reaction is to go into either being very anxious or being very angry or being very frustrated. And we don't resolve anything from that space, do we? You can't resolve anything from that space because you can't think clearly in that space.
That's so true. The addition there, if you can't think clearly in that space, is absolutely necessary to talk about, because the tapping EFT, combined with being mindful as much as you can be, helps to create clear focus.
Mm-hmm. And
as
focus
well
is what
as,
we want.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
what?
Focus is what we want. I mean, how
Yeah.
do you resolve anything if you don't focus on it? You know, that's the thing. But we're inclined to focus on what we can't do as opposed to what we can do. And, you know, even when you get mad, I can't help it, I'm just mad. Well, you know, being mad is okay. Spend that emotion, but don't get caught up in it, right? Because like you've had your vent now, time to come down. Don't stay there.
I'm a certified anger management
Mm.
specialist,
And I bet
national.
you're working very hard at the moment with this environment.
Yeah, I have a lot of work, and it's also in the realm of parenting, effective parenting, and nothing is ever stress-free. But
No.
as you know, with less stress as
Yes.
possible, and there is something ringing. I thought everything was turned off.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. See, you're
Anyway,
in demand. You're in demand. That's the thing. Stressful time. We need you.
so I was just going to say with that certification that the number one strategy to share with any client, no matter what has happened, is if you feel like you're going to regret what you may say or
Yeah.
do, leave, walk away.
Yes. And of course, when somebody's in that moment and they want someone to blame, right? It's like the rationality of take a deep breath, don't say another word, go for a walk, just leave, is not the first thing that comes to mind. It's something they have to train their mind to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is difficult. And sometimes we think that the other person is hanging on every word or action we may say or do. And what it is everyone is truly, totally absorbed in themselves, in their own selves.
Mm.
So if you feel that conversation needs to be continued, and if you have the presence, if you're able to say, we can continue talking about this later, say that before you leave, whether
Yeah.
it's to go outside if the weather is agreeable, or simply go into a room, shut the door or lock it if you must. And if you're too agitated to just breathe or
Mm-hmm.
even to tap, may I show you all punching the sky
Yes.
is a very temporary intervention for that accumulation of stress and negativity, because that's what stress, frustration, and anger does. It accumulates until it topples over.
It's an energy. You know, we got to understand these emotions are energy, and if the frustration and the anger is an energy that needs to be spent, we have to release it. You can't keep it in, otherwise there's an inner explosion. But you've got to be careful that you don't just vent it on someone else just to release it. You have to find those releasing techniques. But it is a process really you have to go through to release it, isn't it? It's not just something, okay, I'm not angry anymore, because then that is a psychotic anger. You know, suddenly you're beating fists and the next moment you're just very calm. You know, it's like, what happened there? You have to be willing to go through the anger process and bring it down into a more positive energy again. And
Yes. What can be helpful for all of us, any of us, is to recognize our personal cues when we're feeling that way, even if it's not in our consciousness yet. Maybe there's a tightness across the chest. Maybe our belly tightens up. Maybe you feel the beginning or onset of a headache and even a migraine, or lower back tension. There's so many different things that physical symptoms that most people have. And if you're in tune with that and you feel it coming, even if you don't have, as I said, the consciousness that you're about to verbally or physically, meaning throw or hit or push, explode, then that's your personal warning. And punch the sky or find a punching bag somewhere. Sometimes I have clients that I ask if they have a space, like a basement level where they live, or a garage where they can put a punching bag, because that's what it's for.
yes, That's where you take the frustrations out. No, not on anyone else. And if somebody's in your way while you're angry, it really doesn't matter who it is, because you're there in that moment, you're going to get it. Whether you were, you had any privy to what's going on in the first place, you've walked in through the door, you're going to get it. And we have to remember that's damaging to anyone, to a child, to a spouse, to a work colleague, to the animal that you've just kicked. That is damaging because it breaks down trust. And
Yes.
it causes anxiety around those people, like, oh God, what's he going to do next time? Or is he mad? Do we run and hide? And you're building up a fear base instead of saying, look, I'm sorry, I'm mad. I need to just go and vent this elsewhere. So we really have to take that ownership of how we react, don't we? Because once you've imposed it on someone else, there's cracks in that glass that are happening already.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is, as I think we've both sort of said, but I just really want to make it clear that it's absolutely okay. It's, quote, normal, even though there's 100 new normals, but it is on the original side of, quote, normal. It's okay to have the feelings of anger and stress and frustration. In fact, it's necessary, because if you don't feel that, it probably means you don't feel anything.
Oh, apathy is worse. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So just to keep that in mind and be aware of your personal cues that I just spoke of a few minutes ago, and be able, this is the key, to step back, when you feel that.
And that's where the mindfulness comes in, isn't it?
Yes.
My triggers. My tone of voice, my body's changing. I need to step out. I need to go and do something else before somebody becomes the victim of my anger.
Yeah. Or perhaps someone is simply saying to you, how come you're so angry now?
Right.
And you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
You're just saying or doing, and that will hopefully stop you in your tracks.
Right.
Before it goes further. And maybe you think and say, I don't know if I'm angry. I'm just really feeling stressed out, or maybe I'm not even stressed out. I'm just really trying to concentrate and I keep getting interrupted, or whatever it may be. Having that recognition, that mindfulness, that's really helpful.
Mm-hmm. There is a wonderful movie from the Inside Out, made a few years ago, an animated movie. It's wonderful.
It is.
And I think everybody should see it. It's not just for kids. It's two dads that made it, watching their children's reactions. And it's about us going through the process of our emotions. And I always say, my own coaching practice is tap into your emotions, but don't become emotional.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is every single one of our emotions is given to us for a reason. It's a reaction to what's happening in that moment. Joy, sadness, hate, love, everything. It's all there for a moment. Look at what's causing that reaction and then deal with it accordingly, happy or negative. But it's not for you to get stuck in, it's certainly not even for you to get stuck in joy, because then you can be illusional to what's going on in your surroundings, right?
Since you mentioned that movie, now you're saying not even being stuck in joy, and I'm visualizing that character.
Yeah.
I think I want to see it again.
Yes.
So good.
But you do have the people that are la 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 la, I don't want to know, I'm just going to be in joy. Well, you're still abstaining from emotions. Those things are still happening inside of you, and that we do need to find a way to allow all our emotions to come out in a stable way.
Yes, well said.
Well, stability and anger doesn't necessarily go hand in hand, so we have to get the stability in hand before the anger pops up, right?
Yes, yes.
So let's look at EFT. For anybody who doesn't know what it is, there's a diagram here on selfdiscoverymedia.com under Choose Positive Living. Just put in Elaine and you'll see her show. Or just
Eileen.
Eileen. I told you, you're sweetheart and love from now on. But, just look at the diagram there, because we are going to talk about what EFT does and why it works. It's so simple. It's a lifesaver. When you just really just don't know how to handle things, and it can be done anyway. You don't need any other instruments other than your hands. And it's absolutely marvelous. So, can we take a scenario right now, what somebody could do? Maybe anxiety is coming on and they can feel that anxiety. It's creeping up the back. What can they do in actually just to meet that anxiety before it starts taking over?
Well, you're talking about tapping on themselves
Yes.
now, or a simple tapping fingers together in a pinch,
Yes.
like me walking through an airport these days.
Mhm.
I just do this, and then I'll go. I reach the restroom, close the door, and do the whole sequence.
Right.
But I don't do that whole thing walking through.
Right. Yes, yes. And I actually had to do it virtually the other day because I had the fingers there, but I was on a bus. I had gloves on and I was traveling, and it was suddenly I needed a bathroom. And it was like the bathroom wasn't going to be there for another half hour. And it
Oh,
was literally, just talking to myself, so you can wait, you're fine, you're this.
yeah.
Although I'm this, although I'm that, I'm okay. And I made it. And I think that virtual tapping works as well. Do whatever you need to do, but let's look at the tapping process of what somebody will actually do, because and again, if you listen to this, folks, I invite you to go over to our video process and just look at this video, because she's going to show us a few techniques here. They're lifesavers. They really are. They will help you in any situation, but each one has a slightly different verbiage as to what you're going to be talking to. So let's talk to anxiety right now, because who doesn't have some form of anxiety in their life right now?
So are we talking about anxiety that you haven't yet defined, like general
Just
anxiety?
general, because we could go into many of them, but just kind of say in general, you can feel that anxiety coming up in your body, before you even identify what
Sure,
it is.
sure. Well, there are two ways to start with startup phrases, which, even though it doesn't sound like a real thing, they are negative affirmations. We've only probably known affirmations to be positive,
Right.
as they should need to be. But in this system are 3 setup phrases, and it goes, even though da-da-da-da-da-da, that's blank, 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 I love and accept myself. And there are several versions of that verbal, but usually everyone is okay with that unless they truly don't love themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we can revise it. Even though da-da-da-da-da-da, I choose to be okay with it soon.
Right.
So here I am blending the first one with I love and accept myself, Dr. Gary Craig's method. And the next one is, her name just skipped me, but I know her well.
I'll come back to you later.
Yeah. So the lovely doctor who brought in the choose method. Okay, so you could all Google that and tell me in a minute. Oh, Dr. Carrington it is. Dr. Patricia Carrington, yeah. So anyway, so we start with these, I'm going to do on the sore spot. Is that in your diagram or just the upside down karate chop?
Yes, the head, actually, I haven't got the diagram in front of me right now. So,
okay.
So it's the general generic one.
I start with the sore spot here, which is kind of under to the side of the collarbone, either side. I'm right-handed. I'm just going across because it feels right. And I'm massaging now on this part. So these are negative affirmations that I'm going to create now about general anxiety.
Okay.
Even though I don't feel right now, I love and accept myself. Even though I think it's anxiety creeping in, I love and accept myself. Even though anxiety has been with me on and off all my life, I still can't stand when I feel this way, and I love and accept myself. So now, 2 or 3 fingers here at the beginning of either eyebrow, tap, 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 like that. I hate anxiety. Anxiety is not my friend, even though it comes all the time. I hate anxiety because it makes me feel tight. I hate anxiety because my stomach contracts. That means tightens.
Mhm.
I hate anxiety because I don't want it to be my default mode. I hate anxiety because growing up, I saw my mother anxious a lot, and I vowed not to be that way.
Mhm.
I hate anxiety because there are too many anxious people in this world that can't focus, and I can see that at work. And I hate anxiety because I just want to be different than that. Now, I'm switching to the positive now, kind of quickly.
Mhm.
So I want to know what I'm doing and be focused and positive, and I want to be able to take action without feeling like I'm holding back on doing good stuff. Here, side of your eye, I just want to do good stuff without having that tightness in any part of my body. And I know if I keep tapping like this, it goes away.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I like about this tapping right now, because my generalized anxiety is totally leaving. I can feel it leaving already. And when I stop tapping and notice how I'm really feeling, then I'll know that, because while I'm tapping, I have learned that a good hormone, serotonin, is
Mhm.
coming up to the section of my brain, the amygdala, that deals with feelings, and that's a good thing. And that a negative hormone, cortisol, which often lands in the belly as belly fat for many people, is actually leaving. Isn't that wonderful? I don't know where it goes. I just hope it's not going into the real world. It's probably just leaving my feet and being recycled back up into good stuff. Anyway, so that's it. So now I'm just going to stop tapping when I finish this
Mhm.
round and notice how I feel. And you can notice how you feel if you've been tapping along.
Right. Right. Now, the bottom one, because we can't see it, is you're tapping around your stomach.
Oh yeah, around my diaphragm,
Okay.
the upper
So
belly.
for the
And
audio people,
here is way under my arm.
right. So
All
let's
the way
just go.
down.
Let's just go through the process for the people who are just listening. So you tap on the collarbone first, the negativity about how you're feeling, and then you
Excuse
go
me.
to the
The,
inner
the,
eyebrow,
the negative affirmations is massage here.
massaging. Okay,
Okay.
and then up to
Then you
the
begin tapping at the beginning of either eyebrow,
right
then at the side.
side of the eye.
Yeah, side of the eye.
Right
Under the eye.
on the cheekbone there.
Yeah, it's on the bone. Good point. Under the nose, on the chin, on around, and I have my whole hand here because you just want to hit around the collarbone.
Yeah.
And my cat is here, and he may jump up into the camera.
I told you they would turn up. So under the armpit.
Yeah, but way back. It's way
Right
back here.
Right, kind of where the fatty tissue is.
Yeah, but it has to do with the pancreas.
Right. Okay.
It can actually, I've helped people stop reverse sugar cravings. This has a lot to do
Okay, man, tap away.
around the midsection here.
So do you just take, all of your fingers and just around your midsection?
Yeah, it's
You just
fun.
kind of tap it along with all
And
fingers
then this is like this, very
at the
gentle.
top of the crown.
For those of us our age, a little older, we may remember walking through the yellow pages. It's just like
Yes.
and the thing is, and now I'm just tapping my fingers together like I did
Right,
in the
and that's the
beginning.
finger, the pads, right,
that.
where the nails are right together, which of course you can do if you're out in public. Yeah, you can just do
or
that.
under the table. Yeah. Okay, so I was just going to what was I going to say? I was just going to say that all these points, all this release of the cortisol and the good serotonin has an absolute effect. Even if if you are not saying any words to yourself, or not working with a practitioner guiding you with words and so on, just that tapping on these points, even if you do out of order, it's okay. It doesn't matter. It releases the cortisol and brings more serotonin up here. So it's been found, science has shown that there is not enough serotonin in most people. This is in the Western world, the studies and so on. These days, now who knows what it was long ago? They didn't do studies.
Right, yeah.
And it is a pharmaceutically produced ingredient in many of the antidepressants. So sometimes people want to learn the tapping, EFT tapping, if they're trying to get off of some meds.
Yes.
Or they have something going on and they don't want to start meds, and they've heard that this happens. Well, it has helped with that.
Right. Yes, and it really is an amazing technique. And of course, what you're doing is, the first round is addressing the problem, isn't it? The cortisol, addressing what the problem is. Because if you don't identify the problem, how is it going to know what to target? So you have to speak to the problem. It's not you inviting negativity, you're addressing it.
Yes, very good point.
And then although you feel like that, now it's like I'm now giving myself the empowerment to release it, because it's not overcoming it, it's releasing that cortisol so that it leaves, so the serotonin can come in and bring you more equilibrium into the body and the mind.
Yes. A few points I want to make when we're on the head. All the meridians in the acupuncture Chinese medicine system, which these points are based on, meet in the head. So the head is super, super sensitive. And babies, who we know, most of us know, have such sensitive, extra soft heads to begin with, well, they still have everything meeting up here in the meridian system.
Right. That's why actually I think babies and anybody also in stress, sometimes it's just simply stroking the hair, stroking the brow, calming down. And it is such a soothing thing, because you are at that meridian, they're just soothing everything down, bringing it down. And it's and I think we forget sometimes that simple touch is incredibly healing, isn't it? We forget that.
Yes. And it works with animals also.
Yes. Yes. I mean, who doesn't want it? I'd love to curl up in someone's lap and be stroked. Find out if I purr or not, because it's soothing when somebody, I do that to myself sometimes when I'm feeling stressed. I'll just stroke, my own head, just to give myself a there. Yes.
Had our hair things,
yes. Yeah. And it's perfectly okay. The thing is, the techniques are there to deal with it, because whether you're talking about anxiety, or whether you're talking about anger, talking about fear, the simple thing you brought up there about the sugar. If you're trying to reduce your sugar intake, this is something you can use for that as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Although I love sugar in everything, and sugar is in everything I do, I choose to release it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've known people lose weight with it, obviously reduce anger and stress with it. One of the places I absolutely love to do my EFT is in the shower. There's something about the water coming down while you're doing the EFT. It is a sense of washing away, isn't it? And kind of coming out refreshed. Yes.
And you're by yourself, unless you're with someone in the shower.
Well, then you can tap each other.
And it's almost like singing in the shower. Some of us have done that, or know people that do that. You're private. You're feeling good. It's usually at a good time for you, or you wouldn't be showering,
right?
And so on. So yeah.
What about you talk about being in the shower with someone, but what about if a couple, or two people who know each other are going through the same type of thing? can they tap together, each on their own, but doing it together, maybe using the same image? Does that help each other? Because they're doing it on each other, but in each other's presence. Does that have extra benefit?
You mean each person is doing it on themselves?
Yes, but they're doing it
together.
addressing the same issue.
Yeah, it would be like tapping groups. There were groups. It's very supportive, and it's very helpful to have that kind of support.
I mean, imagine teaching our kids this very young, which of course as babies, you could just, get them just to tap. I want to feel sad, happy, whatever the case is. Start teaching them very, very young of how to deal with the stress.
Absolutely.
We look at kids that go to school and up to around about grade 5, they're happy, they're inquisitive, and then the pressure comes on. The teenage hormones, the bullying, the expectations, the pressures of having to be number one. And then that's where all that stress goes through. There's the chemistry going on through their body. They maybe have some dysfunction going on at home. You've got the bullies at school. You've got the teachers that are in, parents and everybody that's expecting them to be number one. It's a highly stressed time for kids. And I think having this technique and even doing it in the classroom right at the beginning of class would be an excellent thing to do to put everybody on that same equilibrium.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You need to talk to, hey, teachers out there that are listening to this, give it a try.
I think that mindfulness and relaxation techniques are finally becoming more mainstream in the schools.
Yes.
And for this to be in the schools as well would be really amazing.
Yeah. And government? There, I think somebody would just forget it. But anyway, when somebody's really in anger, don't ask them to tap. They're too much in the anger. So really at that point, it is to start off with the 3 deep breaths, isn't it? Breathe in, hold it, release it, do this at least 3 times until you've got that equilibrium down. Now just go away and think about it. And then maybe while you're away thinking about it, you can address it with the tapping. But don't ask someone to tap rather in the middle of, an argument or the middle of angst, because that's no rationale at that point.
No. When I work with a client, I ask them, what's your level of distress? And you could ask yourself before you tap if you're alone, tapping somewhere. What's my level of distress here right now in this situation while I'm thinking about, even if you're not in it, just thinking about or retelling it. 10 is the highest on the scale. So then after the tapping, you can see that it went down, hopefully way down, or maybe just to 7 from 9. Well, that's a lot better.
Yes, you're already seeing results. So, and if you do that, then okay, the more I do this, the quicker I can probably bring it down.
Yes. And another, I'm sorry, you want to say?
No.
Another, with the scale, something else we measure, depending on the situation, is the level of confidence. So we're kind of switching it here into the positive.
Yes.
The level of confidence one is feeling with being able to take action this week or today, whatever we're saying here. So tapping is remarkable with any kind of procrastination, because procrastination is always based on fear, either fear of being judged, fear of failure, fear of success, or fear of being controlled. It's either one or more of them. And tapping is totally fabulous with any kind of fear. It reverses fear. So, therefore, especially in a procrastination situation, I would say, so what's your level of confidence now about taking that action this week? And perhaps someone is procrastinating and it turns out that the whole idea should be thrown away.
Right.
So we discover that at times.
Well, the thing is, we talk about the mind, I'm always saying this is database, this is programming, the hard drive is actually the wiring, but we forget that the heart and soul has an intellect of its own. And if we don't bring that into the equation, we're working, operating on one or two cylinders. We're not operating on all cylinders. And if you are in a state of anxiousness or anger or frustration or not able to focus, it's because perhaps you're too much in your mind with chatter, negativity, you can't, I should, all of this going on. And you're not tapping into your own divine heart intellect and understanding that, yes, you should do that, but maybe not in that way. You don't get the clarity. This is the clarity here. But the mind on its own can't bring you the clarity, because it's just going to bring you the possibilities, not the clarity of what will work. And I think using tapping as a form of meditation to understand what the message is. What do I need to know? Or I start off by being confused of what I need to do around this particular area. And then, asking for that guidance and that clarity to understand what it is that you need, what action you need to take. I think then we start allowing, our other consciousness to come forward with the information needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just, tool to deal with anger and anxiety. Clarity
and motivation,
yeah,
and confidence and
self-esteem. Yes. Yes.
Empowerment.
Yes. Which comes from self-esteem, comes from clarity, comes from that then being able to focus in on what you really need to do, because it's coming from the heart and the soul in that clarity. Now the mind knows what to do with it, right? Because the mind has that clear picture. And, I think that tapping is one of those best friends you can have, that you can ask, right? Right?
Absolutely.
Anytime, anywhere. Right? So you need an answer. And I know it doesn't mean that you're going to know it immediately, but it does mean you're going to be in that space where the answer is going to be able to come to you. No clarity comes to you when you're completely wound up and tightened up and worried about something and over anxious. It cannot come through to you like that, can it? So dealing with our anxiety is something that isn't somebody else's problem, it's ours. Right?
Absolutely.
And finding our clarity is also our responsibility, but having the right tools and the right knowledge how to use those tools is imperative for our own beautiful process moving forward. You don't just do EFT and breathing. You have a list of things that you use. So how about you share some of that?
It can be helpful to keep a log, not a whole journal. If you want a journal, that's always good. To keep a stress and anger log, and writing down briefly, because it's a log, not a journal, what happened, possibly what your trigger thoughts were. And for instance, he did that again, or she did that stupid thing, I can't believe it, or whatever your trigger thought.
Right.
And then your level of emotional distress for you. This is for you. So 10 is the highest on all these scales. So it depends who you are and where you go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then your level of physical involvement or aggression, or just if you're close to your tipping point of where you may hit a wall, punch a wall, push someone. If you're close to that and you do that, then it would be a 9. If you never even think of doing those things, and I hope that's the case.
Yes.
And if you simply raise your voice, well, for you, that may be a 9.
Right.
So it's your scale. So
Yeah.
you need to be a little introspective before you just write it out.
Right, right. Don't assume it's a 10, what is it for you,
Right. So the purpose in doing that is not only simply releasing it with writing, It's also to possibly see a pattern in your own, what the trigger thoughts may be, what your emotional distress is, how far you go in your negative behavior. So if you see any patterns, that can be something to address.
Right. Yes. And then you become forewarned, don't you? You know, your anxiety and everything else doesn't go up to those heights anymore because you're already in tuned with self. Oh, I can feel this rising. I can feel a reaction here. Instead of waiting for it to get up there, you can address it right there and then and stop it from escalating.
Yes.
So a preventative tool. How have you found this with people with post-traumatic stress disorder?
It depends on the person, of course, as almost everything does. And just generally, I have not worked with veterans, even though I can, and there is a discount that I would give them and so on. However, I have worked with people with post-traumatic stress disorder from some things that have happened in their childhood, bullying situations that they haven't let go yet. And it's extraordinarily wonderful in releasing the trauma and the stress from the trauma. So that person eventually, and it takes work and it takes time. And if I'm only working with the person once or twice a week, they have to do it every single day, maybe more than once a day. And they're accountable to themselves for that. They are responsible, as you started this segment, they're responsible for their own behavior, for acknowledging their cues, and so on. And then if they've taken on tapping, they are responsible for doing this every single day if they want to see any results.
You know, like you're going into a meeting, you know, just a quick little tap, even if it's just the fingers, you know, a couple, you know, I'm anxious about this meeting. I don't know what it's, you know, what's going to outcome of it. But, you know, although I'm anxious about this meeting, I know that I am strong enough to handle anything that comes my way. And I think just that and a few deep breaths before you go into a situation, you know, it's already kind of, you're fortified, aren't you?
Absolutely. You know? I've done a lot of public speaking, different kinds of groups, different size groups. I still get a little butterflies. It's very, very natural.
Yes.
And I actually said that at the event that my intro was filmed at.
Yes, yes. The intro is here on the blog page, folks. Come and listen.
Yeah. So it's natural for that to happen. It's okay. And all you may have to do is a few deep breaths and and tapping sequence, a few more deep breaths, and you're good to go.
Right. And that deep breath, I mean, if ever I'm doing a speech or anything, I have my whole audience do 3 deep breaths first.
Yes.
Just release it. And in that last breath, you can start seeing people being in sync with their energy. And, you know, they're also now, they've let go of what they came in with, and they're now more open and ready to receive.
Absolutely.
Right. So, you know, we forget these are ancient techniques that have been around for a long time. Although EFT was found by, you know, the doctor because his wife was dying. Right. And he was looking at ways to help her, and then just using the ancient arts in a new format. You know, he created this wonderful platform that is so simple to use. And the verbiage is addressing what your issue is. And the verbiage could be different every time, as long as it is remembering to say, I love and honor myself, or I choose to love and honor myself, whatever those words that you feel you're connected with, right? But it's, I think having somebody to guide you initially through the tools, through the program, through the system. So, and then from there, you change it up to become a custom for you. But having somebody there that can guide you through it initially and how to really use the tool, when to use the tool, as you said, the writing, what triggered that? That reaction came up. What triggered it? What situation was I in? Because that now is in that documentation, you know, don't put yourself in that position again, right? Or be aware that that situation is going to cause that trigger. And then you know you need to do some tapping before you go into that situation in order to protect yourself. There's so many beautiful ways that you can teach people to use this technique, and then this technique can go with them for the rest of their lives anywhere they go.
Yes.
So how do you do it? You know, do you do it through Skype, do it in person? How do you
Oh,
address your clientele?
both. So Skype works well,
Mm-hmm.
as does Zoom, because we're face to face.
Yes.
And I must see the client. I have done it on the telephone, but I'm not as comfortable with that because I want to see them.
Yes.
So Zoom or Skype, and I have an office in Nassau County in Long Island, and I see most of my clients there. I also go on site and give trainings.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be speaking at a PTA for locally in Long Island for SEPTA, it's called, for disabled children, special education, PTA, SEPTA. And the topic is stress reduction. They said, just do stress. Well, guess what I'll be doing?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what those parents and teachers need. And maybe they could help some of their children can learn it.
Yes.
I've actually worked with some children, young adults and older children who are on the spectrum of ADD and ADHD. It's incredibly fabulous with helping to focus and gain clarity.
Well, when you look at ADD and ADHD, it's all kind of like the neurons are all firing all at once, and they're needing something to calm them down. And of course, the drug, we know, just zombifies them. So it's having that tool that, as you can see, they're winding up, a tool to wind them back down again into a space where they're calm enough now to interact. And then recognizing when they're going high again, or them recognizing it, doing that tapping to bring them back down to that equilibrium. So it's a tool that can help them focus and be in the moment anytime, anywhere throughout their lives.
Yes.
I'd be fascinated to see how this works with autism children as well. Have you worked with any?
Some young adults who have multiple diagnoses.
Mm-hmm.
So not specifically just that.
Yeah.
So it's been very helpful with executive skills, which means socialization, which means self-confidence, self-esteem, and being able to perhaps answer the phone in an office and follow a timetable, time schedule. Those are the kind of skills that they have been calling executive skills for the adults.
Right. I don't think people realize how anxiety is so crippling, because it does start chewing away at your self-esteem. It does lead to frustration. It does lead to anger. It does lead to a sense of despair. It does lead to depression. And if we don't step in and start redirecting it, start nurturing it, start caring, because as you said with the EFT, you're addressing the problem. You're going right to that negative problem and addressing it. I'm speaking to you, right? And then you're going in as, although I know you're there, I have the empowerment to overcome you. I have the empowerment to be, to not let you in, not let you dictate my life. So EFT is an incredibly empowering form of tool, isn't it, to really help you become the master of your own life.
Yes. Yes.
And again, so simple with the breathing techniques, the learning the different ways to address. Do you have different types of verbiage with the EFT addressing to whichever problem it is?
I'm not sure what your question is.
Different, like when you're doing the EFT, it's not like saying the same words all the time. So if you're addressing anger or anxiety or fatigue or this or that, obviously it's going to be different words you're going to be using to each one, right?
Well, I speak in the vocabulary of the challenge.
Yes, because you have to address it.
It also depends if it's an individual or a couple. the age, if it's a group, my answer is it depends. And yes, it varies. There's no set
No
thing.
set thing, right?
And
Other than addressing the negative and bringing in the positive.
Yes, I'm extremely intuitive, and when someone tells me something, I understand it at a lot of levels, not simply the words that come through. And I'm also on top of all the research, so I pride myself in that, and I bring that all in.
Right, exactly, and all the years of expertise. And everything is about relationships, isn't it? When you denominator down, the relationship with self, the relationship with others, the relationships we're in, at work, with someone, with friends, with family, everything, that relationship is a common denominator, and our communication from that in that relationship is absolutely key to the kind of relationship you have. If you're having a tumultuous relationship with self, that's what you're bringing into all of your relationships. So being kind to yourself and bringing yourself into a space of that equilibrium, that space of self-confidence, that space of well-balanced, that is what you're now bringing to all of your relationships in life. And that changes the way other people interact with you.
Yes. And may I'm going to add something in here.
Yeah, add away, please. Pour it on.
Add away.
Add away.
Okay. There are basically three, to simplify this subject, three types of communication / behavior: assertive, passive, and aggressive. And without stereotyping, I will simply say it's best to be mostly assertive in your relationships and your communications for positive relationships, and to have people listen to you and to what you need and want. Because when we speak assertively, it's about I need, I want, in a nice way.
Yes. Not a narcissistic way,
but just to give a household example that I usually say is not to say, for instance, oh, throw out the trash, I'm so sick of doing it, right? An exaggeration, I hope, in any of your homes. And instead you could say, one may say, I need some help with the tidying up, as you might say, with the cleaning up. I need some help tonight. And that's the I need help. And I'm asking if you would please take out the trash. So it's from the I. If you're speaking to a teenager's bedroom or some child's bedroom, instead of saying whatever you may say, you could walk away and shut the door. Or you could say, I'm really being bothered by the pileup of clothes in that corner because I want to vacuum today, and it's going to prevent me from doing that. So I'm asking if you'd please move it somewhere else. Now that is like really innocuous kind of communication. So even an 11-year-old may listen,
Yes. Yeah, it's like, it's not coming on authoritative in your eye. Right, but it is coming on in. I can't within. What's another word for authority that isn't authority? It's within
direct.
your.
It's direct.
That directness is from where you're speaking of who you are, what your request is. You're being, again, back to clarity. You're being clear on what you want. Where a permissive person is, well, what do you think? And I can fit under that label of being, I'm very bad that way. I have to be more assertive. And I am in some things, and others I am that permissive one. And I have to look at that and I go, but why? And then I realize old patterning, old conditioning. And so if you find yourself doing something and you go, hang on a second, I'm doing that. I've always done that, but why? It's all programming there that you need to get rid of. And of course, EFT can help you with that too, can't it?
Absolutely. So I've noticed myself saying absolutely several times on this podcast, and that's because we're in agreement so much. I'm sure there are other words I could use, but somehow that keeps coming to mind. It's all
nice
positive.
Word. It's a nice word. So, in changing old programming, which we all have to do, at some point we have to realize we're carrying the garbage around with us that doesn't serve us anymore. We're wearing those heavy coats that, that it's springtime now. You don't need that winter coat. Take it off. But how do we address an old patterning that sometimes we don't even know is there? Is there a particular technique, or is this, is a first step into recognizing some old patterning needs to go?
I think one has to be aware that it exists. Some people don't know that it's even there. So before I work with someone, me working with a client with tapping, we do some in-depth coaching, life, career, whatever it may be, coaching, so I can understand. And perhaps they can have some big aha moments about what's going on. That's necessary. You may not, an individual may not be able to do that.
Right. You can't always identify on your own, because where is the clarity? You're stuck in a loop and of a patterning. You know that this patterning isn't serving you, but you have no idea how to get out of it. And sometimes you don't even know how to recognize what it is, what that pattern is. You just know that you're just doing the same old thing all the time. And if you're living in a space of discontent in your life, you don't enjoy your job, you're not connected to your relationships, you're really, borderline apathy, not anger, going the other way, this is a time really to step up and say, you know what, I need, in my self-discovery of who I am, to start unraveling and looking at, what's patterning and what's me.
So sometimes with that self-acknowledgement that you were just saying, it's helpful to find some guidance.
Yes.
I see myself as a guide with this work. And ultimately, people helping themselves.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what it's all about. I mean, you can't do things for them. You could just show them the tools and the skills to apply for themselves. Nobody's here to do it for you. You're just here to give them the right tools and skills and knowledge and how to apply it for themselves and their lives. Whether they do or not falls on them. Right? That's all we can do.
Yes.
All we can do.
Yes, I almost said absolutely again.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is, we've kind of come into a society, the downloadable app, the this, the that, like I had a woman here on Soul Agenda, and she's saying that she went to everybody, psychics, this, that, NLP, this, that, to find out what is her purpose. And everything came back with what her purpose is. Yes, but what's my purpose? Because she didn't connect to it, because she was so busy thinking it and chasing it. She wasn't feeling it to be it. And I think this is something that we again, going back to the mind needs to be ignited and ask the right questions, but then it has to step out of the way and allow the answers to come in a different way. Because if we're just in mind, we're constantly going to be going, yes, but. And how many buts do we get in a day? And they're not the talking ones either. So, I don't care what your butt is. This is...
Oh, no?
This is a skill and a tool that works. Simply, it works. It's been proven to work everywhere. But having the right guidance to help you set yourself up and how to use the tool properly, really to understand what it is you're really addressing, the skill of being able to recognize an old pattern or an anger or an anxiety and know what to do with it before it gets there or delete it. And, gosh, since you mentioned the sugar one, addictive habits. I'm sure that you have ones for addictive habits. Why do we go for the sugar all the time? Why the cigarettes? Why the booze? Why the something else? It's always in replacement of. So
May I just...
Yes, please, jump in there.
Interject here. I am not a substance abuse counselor.
Right.
So sometimes I see people who've been through the rehab, and they're now in their support groups and so on, and they see me, and they're there for supplementing, for more
Right.
help.
And for another tool that helps
Yes,
them to make sure they don't go back.
exactly.
Right? And that they have the tools to help them move forward, because we do know that any form of patterning or addiction, it's a comfort place, even though we know it doesn't serve us. It's what we know. And so if we're faced with an unknown, it's kind of a reset automatically to go back to that old patterning. And if we have those tools of the tapping, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back there. I want to move forward. Help me have clarity. Then it's an interventional tool to help you move forward.
Yes, and I have helped people who have almost totally let go of cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, I still smoke one, like with my morning coffee and at night after dinner, or whatever they may say. And I want to stop, but I can't. I say, yes, you can. And then we go through some sessions, and then they stop. So,
right.
so they're already
Resetting.
on their way.
On the road. They're on the road.
Yes.
Right. And you're just helping them make sure that they've got the right tools in their backpack for that journey.
Yes.
Absolutely. So what programs do you have on right now? What are you offering people?
Yes, I'm a life and career coach and a C-level, which means high level, like a CEO and CFO, executive coach as well. So that's for stress, anger, career, balance, work-life integration.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone needs this.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you're C-level or court mandated. I mean, very different.
Yes,
of course,
yes.
it's different. You guys are different, of course.
Different end of the scale.
I'm trying to say everyone needs these tools.
Yeah. And again, once you use them, once you've mastered them, it's something you will use daily. It's something that is always there for you, no matter what you're facing. So it never leaves you, right? It's not like a treadmill you got to carry around with you. Right. Yes, the book. Yes.
My book, Soar with Resilience, that my clients purchase or receive, depending on the situation. And this is also an ebook, a PDF ebook. It's available on my website and Amazon as well. SOAR stands for Succeed, Overcome Obstacles, Achieve Your Goals, and Reduce Stress and Anger. And I have 3 much smaller ebooks, just simply the topics EFT,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's stress management and anger management.
Right. And one of them has a thread from one to the other, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, this is time to step up. You know that you're in a rut, or you know that you have these issues that you've got to deal with. You're tired of feeling anxious. Because it's draining. It kills all forms of productivity and creativity. You're in unsure times, but this is the time now you go, I'm not going to let what's happening outside there take ownership of what's inside here. And step up and say, I want to empower myself. I want to be able to handle whatever is out there and empower myself to take that path of my own fruitfulness. So this is the time that they reach out to you. So what's your site? What's your email? How do people get hold of you?
Thank you. My website is balanceandpower.com. And my complimentary phone consult, of course this is on the website, as well as my email, is 516-623-1650. That is a landline. And my email is Eileen, EILEEN, at balanceandpower.com.
So they're losing nothing by getting hold of you and just having a complimentary talk. And then you'll know if there's a synergy there or not. And when you discover that there is, it's time to put yourself into gear and be willing to take the journey. Right?
Right.
Because really, again, going back to, we're all in this, and we're all in this together. And the more that we empower each other with the skills and the tools that we've learned along the way, the faster we're going to make this world a better place to live in. Because the stress and this anger, that's led to hate, led to disconnect, led to the segregation of everything, is something that we really need to address and make sure we don't become a part of. So that empowerment that we look for, of togetherness, of good relationships in everything that we do, starts first with ourselves. And when we've got the right tools and the right empowerment to apply to ourselves, then we become pretty awesome. We really do. And we can really have an awesome life because we've got the skills and the knowledge to know how to apply it to ourselves. And just reach out to Elaine and just say, okay, all right, I'm a mess, help me. And just see where you go from there. And don't worry about admitting it being a mess, because we all are at some point in time, and we need to be unraveled, right? Need to be unraveled and just shown the techniques that help us to move forward into our own empowerment, because that's what it's all about. So thank you so much for being with us here today and sharing.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Sara.
And please go to her blog page on Choose Positive Living here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. And yes, that is a name change, folks. It was Self-Discovery Radio, so it is Self-Discovery Media now. And just put in her name and her show will come up, along with everything that she has to offer, her book, the tapping skills there, and her complimentary phone number, everything. And just reach out. You've got nothing to lose and one hell of a lot to gain. So thank you, love.
Thank you.
And until next time, folks, bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.